Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about some of the do's and don'ts of travel social work. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So, first and foremost, just giving you all kind of a quick introduction to travel social work. It's basically a job where you take short term contracts all over the United States and sometimes internationally. It's typically in healthcare environments such as hospitals, long term care facilities, nursing facilities, or acute rehab facilities. That's really where the majority of a lot of travel social work contracts are. However, there are opportunities to work in corrections, in managed care, and also in some schools. So, one thing about it is that it offers a lot of flexibility, and there's also paid travel, which is a great perk of travel social work, in that your staffing agency typically pays for your car, pays for housing, and also pays for flights for you to get to and from the assignment from your home state. Now, we also have to talk about what it isn't. So, travel social work isn't a quick fix. It's not something that you want to kind of jump on and do without any experience and just kind of learn as you go. It's not something that would be a fit for new graduates, especially if you don't have a lot of healthcare experience and you're not used to working in social work in general. This isn't really a good fit for individuals who are just starting out in their career. It's also not stress free. A lot of times, travel social workers are filling a staffing need, and usually, when you're filling a staffing need, there's a reason why that staffing need is present. And typically, it's because of some type of issue or challenge that's going on with management, administration, and there may be some issues that need to be addressed. And because of those issues, there's usually a high rate of employee turnover, which means they need travelers to fill in some of the employment gaps that have happened because people have sometimes decided to leave the facility or the healthcare environment. So it's not stress free. There's a lot of specific and unique stressors that can come along with travel social work. And that's something that I encourage people to be prepared for and to realize that that is sometimes, most of the time, actually part of being a travel social worker is knowing that there's going to be stress, but also managing it in a healthy way. So, some of the do's of travel social work. So, number one, do your research. Choose a state, region, or setting. A lot of times, when you're starting out in travel social work, you may not know specifically where you want to work. It's a good idea to know what type of setting that you do best in. Maybe a hospital isn't a good fit for your personality. Maybe you don't really like working with school aged individuals. So, maybe a school setting isn't a good fit for you. You also may not want to work with individuals who are currently incarcerated. So, a correctional contract may not be a good fit for your needs. You also may want to work out of a certain state. You may want to work out of a certain region. These are all characteristics and variables that you should incorporate into your decision making process. Where do you want to work, and where geographically you want to work? It's also important to get experience in healthcare and with various electronic health record systems, because now that we are in 2022 right now, everything for the most part is completely virtual and a lot of times also paperless. So the more experience that you have working with various software and electronic health record programs, the more marketable you're going to be as a travel social worker, but also just as a social worker in general, but more specifically in a medical setting. So, some of the don'ts of travel social work are: number one, don't make major decisions without a plan. As we talked about before, it is so crucial to have a plan. A lot of times, people put their things into storage if they have an apartment. Sometimes people decide to rent out their house if they own their home. These are all things that you want to think about. What are you going to do with your mail? Do you have any pets that you want to take with you? Do you have children that you may have to think about, their school or childcare or other variables that may come along with some of your current responsibilities? Think about ways that you want to address and kind of mitigate some of those challenges. For instance, you may want to work within a state if you're getting hours for social work licensure, instead of kind of bouncing around from state to state and trying to get different licenses in different states. A lot of times it's good to stay in one state as you acquire the hours needed for licensure. A second don't is don't work with only one staffing agency. I see this happen all the time. And, negotiation is definitely the name of the game as a travel social worker. And when you only work with one staffing agency, you really pigeonhole yourself in. And this is especially true if you want to work in a specific state or there's a major city that you want to work in. Many times, staffing agencies will have different positions in the same hospital or even in the same state. So it's always good to keep, the lines of communication open with different recruiters from different agencies, so that you can always kind of reach back out and see what's available and see what best meets your needs at the time. Another don't sell yourself short on housing. Housing is a big thing, because we all want to come home to a place that's safe and comfortable after the end of a long workday. Don't sell yourself short on housing. Most people decide to get an Airbnb. They have furnished finders. There's also a lot of groups through social media where people are looking to host travelers in their homes or in other rental properties. You may want to look into the housing that the agency provides for you. Many times, agencies will also give you the option of getting usually it's a one or two bedroom furnished apartment where it's taken out of your hourly rate, but you don't have to worry about housing. And so, all the money that you make, you actually get a chance to keep instead of it going back into housing. Some other staffing agencies provide you with a housing stipend where you have to find your own. Depending on the area that you're moving to, sometimes it's a good idea to go with the housing that the agency provides, especially if it's in a rural area and you may not be as familiar with the area or it's not based out of a major city. Many times, smaller areas don't necessarily have the same amount of options, and they don't have necessarily the same amount of I guess, challenges that come along with being in a major city. So don't sell yourself short on housing. Do your research, and if possible, and if you're noticing that there's not a lot available, go with the housing that the agency provides, and then you can go from there. And if you decide to extend your contract, then you can look at other housing options once you've kind of gotten the lay of the land. So that brings us to the end of our video for today. Thanks so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Have a good one.